Welcome back everyone to another post of Tech Break by Friday, where we break down big tech topics in small and digestible moments. I am Paraskevi Kivroglu, an experienced software developer and AI engineer, and even though I have this experience, I joined a hackathon by myself for a weekend. And I used only Lovable to test how easy it is for people to use it and vibe code their own ideas in an app. So if you haven't listened to our episode about vibe coding, I will leave a link below. So basically, vibe coding is when you don't use actual coding in order to code an idea or an app, but you actually use natural language, which means basically English or whatever other language you use in a specific model. So my idea for today's episode is to break down the steps for building your own AI project. The goal is to help people advance their skills, gain more confidence in themselves by using AI tools. So, let's move on. Before we dive deeper, I would like to tell you a little bit about the tool. I used the tool Lovable just because they had the hackathon. I don't have any sponsorship by this specific tool. Before we discuss the challenges that I faced building this AI powered research assistant application, I want to give you some shout out. So let's see. Lovable is a platform that lets you rapidly prototype and build full stack AI applications just by prompting. It's like having a code developer who understands natural language, as we discussed before, which is basically what you're telling it to do. So let's move on to the problem and the inspiration. I'm writing my master thesis, and Zotero is a tool for saving papers, articles, and any bibliography that you actually need, you want to mention or cite in your thesis or any paper that you actually write. So I was reading something, and then at some point I had too many papers open, and I was like, shoot, I forgot what I read. Where is this information that I was reading? And I got inspired to write the sentence for my thesis. And I was just went through again and again in order to find it, and I couldn't find it, and then I was just losing so much time. My idea was, okay, let's see. So what if we could have like a fast tool that might not be 100% perfect by now, but like if it works 80% of the time, I can still use it. So what I did is that I wanted a tool that if I read something, it could tell me where did I read it, in which paper is it mentioned, and I could find that paper easily. So I decided to join the Lovable hackathon since it required a 48-hour submission. So what did that mean? I had a time pressure. I had to actually build the project, and I also posted about it every day on X about like my progress. So you can check it out there if you're interested in how this project was built, what kind of feature it has, and yeah. So in order to move on, I would like to tell you about what I have built, like the MVP. So MVP is minimum viable product. It's basically the minimum features that your product can have. So first I used user authentication with Clerk, and this meant that the users could actually securely log in, add their data, chat history preferences, connect their Zotero accounts, and that would be private, tied to their profile. Supabase is an open source alternative to Firebase, and I used it to store the user data, chat histories, and the Zotero content. And this gave me an instant scalable database and real-time features right out of the box, as we can say. I also added a Zotero integration, so I used the Zotero API to pull my collections and papers, and once I was authenticated, the assistant could actually fetch my library and include metadata, title, authors, abstract, and even tags. I also built a secure way to manage API keys. Since the app uses Zotero's API and Perplexity's LLM interface, users can store their keys privately and they are never exposed to the client side. That was important for maintaining trust and data security. Now let's move on to the fun part, the chat, the start of the show. Users could interact with the assistant using natural language. They could summarize a paper, ask a question, and generate an answer regarding the papers in a chosen collection. A collection here, as we mentioned before, is a group of papers or links. The AI could respond intelligently. The AI could actually respond by referencing actual papers. from their Zotero library. Here I also built the front end with Lovable, and it was really easy to actually build a good front end that was actually useful. For me, one of the things that I don't actually like so much to do is writing CSS styling. So having Lovable to do that for me was super easy and enjoyable. So another feature that I decided to add is the persistent chat history. I added that in order for each user to return to their own previous questions and conversations. And this meant that you could ask a question in the morning, come back later, continue the same train of thought, almost like having a virtual research assistant who remembers everything. So that's the MVP for me. Log in, connect to Zotero, talk to your papers, pick up where you left off. And that was actually something that I could use and I use to actually find out where did I read all of these things that I want to mention in my thesis. How can you do it yourself? How can you build your own project with Lovable? So I built everything as I mentioned with natural language, and I wanted to test it out, like how easy it is for me as a developer to do so, because most of the times when I want to build something, I actually enjoy doing it by myself as well. So you can chat with Lovable next to your project, and by default, Lovable will actually output code or change the code. So in the chat interface that you will see, you if you have the chat toggle enabled, you will be able to chat with Lovable without generating code. But if you actually have this disabled, then what it will do, it will either output code or it will either edit the code that you currently have in order to match your request. If you activate the code viewer toggle on the top, you will be able to see the actual code that it has generated, and next to it you can integrate Supabase. So that is super friendly, so you can use an open source database that allows you to save data for your app and your idea. And next to it you actually have a GitHub integration, so if you want to keep track of all your changes, what you did before, what you did after, what has changed, how do you manage all of that, you use a GitHub repository, and you can connect it also easy, so whatever happens, whatever change happens, Lovable actually pushes that to your GitHub. Next to this you have an invite button, and why that is so useful is that you can actually collaborate with your friends, and you can actually build maybe something useful together. And then next to that you have the publish button that allows your application to be live, and you can share it with other people online, maybe friends and family, and you can have their opinion on what happened to your idea and how it became an app. And this may sound difficult and confusing to you, but in order to help you take action, I will share my first prompt, and this was the basis of all of these projects. I basically wrote to Lovable, "Hello, can you help me make an agentic app that connects to my Zotero? It reads my specific collection papers, and if I want to reference something, I can use natural language processing to define the style." And then Lovable replied, "Of course," and then building an agentic app, and you move on forward and start building it for me. So I started with a simple idea, make it easier to talk to academic papers. And what came out of it was a real MVP that is already helping me speed up literature review, summarize research, and organize my thinking. And if you enjoyed this episode, please follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who's been meaning to build something with AI but doesn't know how or where to start. If you create something and you want, please share it with me either by DM or by leaving a comment down below. I would be really excited to check out what you guys built and checking out your ideas, and maybe we can also build something all of us together as a community at some point in the future. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next Friday where we keep discovering new topics and ideas, and